Please welcome to the show Republican candidate running against Congresswoman Maxine Waters, John Wood, Jr. Mr. Wood, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me, Larry. It's a real pleasure.
Mr. Wood, what I'm thinking is you are headed for a wood chipper, my friend. What are your prospects from beating this entrenched incumbent against whom I once campaigned for a candidate named Ross Moen years and years ago? I did everything I could, John, to appear when I could appear, to make speeches when I could make them. We got crushed. I think it was like 80-20.
Right. Yeah, I think my prospects are quite a bit better than anybody might have reason to think. When I speak with people, with black folks in the inner city, and we talk about Republicans and Democrats, and talk about politics and all the the allegations that you're used to hearing about Republicans come up, it becomes relevant that I'm a Republican, and once they, once folks get over the shock value of that, very, very often, what people say to me is, I actually agree with some of the things that the Republican Party says, some of the things Republicans talk about. I just don't think they give a hoot for me personally, which is to say that I don't think they care for black people, and so. That obviously, as you well know, is the big issue. It's not so much a matter that people are happy with the governing status quo in inner city Los Angeles and South Los Angeles, where I live. They're not. Nobody could be happy with the status quo where unemployment is as rampant as it is, where dependence is as high as it is, and where the governing regime there has basically been the same year after year after year with no change. So nobody's happy with that. But what I'm able to tell people is I'm able to simply speak from my own experience. First of all, what I make clear to people is that I'm not running for the sake of the Republican Party. I'm not. I'm happy to be a Republican. Right. What I want to do is solve problems. What I want to do is make life better for all people, But on the subject of whether or not the Republicans are so dastardly that we should dare trust even a Republican from our part of town, I say two things. Number one, I have a diverse parentage. To be simplistic about it, my mother is a black liberal from inner city Los Angeles. My father is a white conservative from Tennessee. So I've always sort of had a different perspectives in my family. And if you were to listen, my dad was big for Mitt Romney in the last election. And if you were to listen, not you, but if you were to be coming from the left side of the spectrum, many people might listen to some of the things my dad would say politically and just assume, wow, this guy's a racist,
right.
If they didn't know anything more about him. But my father, as you mentioned, is a jazz pianist. His heroes growing up in life were Willie Mays and Muhammad Ali. If you know a thing or two about jazz, he made albums with guys like Billy Higgins and Woody Shaw and Joe Henderson. Has grown up loving the black culture and the black community, and he's my father. And he loves me and my brothers more than anything else in life. So I can give a personal testimony to the fact that regardless of what you think of political parties, if we're going to honor Dr. King's edict, then we have to, judge people not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And I think furthermore, not judge them by their political affiliation, but by their particular characters and by the solutions people put on the table. And I can tell you that on a one-on-one basis, I have gotten very little resistance to that. In the inner city community, because people are ready for a change. The only question is whether or not they're willing to trust another candidate, even if he may be a Republican. And I'm willing to bet on the fact that they are.
My guest is John Wood, Jr., Republican candidate against Maxine Waters, running in 2014. His website is wood2014.com. John, I can't think of anything more important than A, the economy, and B, education.
Right.
And you have people like Emmanuel Cleaver saying that under Obama, unemployment in the black community has become unconscionable. Not my word, his word. Maxine Waters even used that word as well. And on education, you got President Obama, as you know, shutting down the D.C. Hope Scholarship Program. They gave $7,000 to inner-city parents to get those kids out of bad, underperforming government schools, and the Democratic Party is opposed to that. Now, why Republicans have not made better hay out of this is beyond me.
Right. I think that, well, I would agree, of course, that these are fundamental issues, particularly with respect to the economy, because you cannot have a functioning educational system at the end of the day or a functioning healthcare system if they can't take care of themselves, if they can't pay taxes because they're not employed, and if they can't put value back into the society and into the economy. My point has always been, and I'm a right of center guy, But we've got divided government, and we're not going to make progress on any of these issues unless we're able to form, I think, some consensus, some common ground, or unless another party comes along and I guess sweeps every house of government and is able to ramrod their agenda through. But we've seen that doesn't always have the best consequences either. What is important, I think, is to emphasize a cultural change of perspective. Now, I can talk to you all day long about how I think that the tax burden needs to be lowered if we're going to engineer growth in the economy. I can talk to you all day long about how we need to reform welfare spending and unemployment spending to make it less of just a lifeboat that allows you to sink more and more slowly over time, and transform that into something that invests in the skills and the abilities of people in the inner city to allow them to become productive and independent and to make the most out of the gifts that God has given them, because that's what they want. That's what we all should want. But if there is such rampant and poisonous distrust between people on account of political parties, on account of ideologies, and on account of race, then I don't see any great prospect for that. And I'll tell you just very briefly. I was a Democrat myself until not too terribly long. Well, several years ago.
John, weren't we all at some point?
Well, and
even Charles Krauthammer. I just heard that he was a speechwriter for Walter Mondale, for crying out loud.
I heard that on. I heard that too. That's right. And I was very heavy for big supporter of Barack Obama's in 2008. But I can tell you that my passion for his campaign back then stemmed not primarily because I was, completely swayed by all of his policy point of views, but I agreed with him, and I still agree with this fundamental view that, America's not really going to reach her greater potential until we come to a place where we've, as much as is possible, have transcended the limitations that, that partisan warfare for the sake of partisan warfare.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you voted for him because you heard the music, but you didn't really listen to the words.
Well, I had a different policy perspective back then. It's true, and of course, after that, I made the decision. I said, if we're going to elevate this political culture, it's important for me as an Obama supporter to read what the other side is reading, to watch what the other side is reading, to listen to Larry Elder a little more.
John, we're going to have to run. John, the website is wood2014.com. Do you have money?
We're getting more and more.
All right.
And if you go to the website and send me a request, we can get you information on fundraisers. And we're having a town hall on November 16th at 2 o'clock at Greater New Holy Trinity Baptist Church in South Central Los Angeles, and the information for that is up on the website as well.
Good luck, John.
Thank you, sir.